is drain tile here, diagonal down the hill. There in the mid-70s, I put about 3,500 feet of drain tile here and drained the wet places further down on the flat. And of those sterilizing chemicals in the soil that cause chlorosis and the bleaching out of the grass, especially the timothy.
Mm-hmm.
Another sign of being near lethal levels in the soil is I look at the accompanying plant, for example, dandelions. The stems, they turn red. The same way in the mature clover plants in the intervinal areas, and the stems of especially red clover, and so they turn red too. And then there is very little vegetative growth left in those plants. But look at here. Look at the dandelions. I look at all the different aspects, you know, and I get what I'm talking about, those sterilizing chemicals in the soil, long-term soil sterilants. I get it always reaffirmed in cross-referencing what happened to accompanying species. So basically what I'm talking about, it doesn't look just at single factors, and the same way it is with all the science. We got too many special idiots, you know. They are so focused on one issue, and with basically specialized idiots, and they don't cross-reference it. Most of the scientists, they don't cross-reference it. They have already determined what is supposed to be the outcome of their research, and that's where it comes in. Who is paying them? Who is paying most of the main research that's been done now? It's been most of the research is being paid by multinational corporations. So the majority of the scientists now have become scientific horse for hire. And we got a saying in German, you know, whose falles bread I'm eating, that falles song I'm singing. See, here you see one of the cows that has been especially targeting over the last few years, and again this spring. She survived the attacks, and you see in big patches the hair is coming right off. About a year ago, they blinded that cow on the right hand, on the right eye, no, on the left eye. I was coming out in the morning, and the eye was all red and gone. But the animal looks like it had been starved to death. But what I've been documenting, they had plenty of hay, they had good hay to eat, you know, and the animals sure weren't starved to death. But that's where it comes in about all the slander that has been perpetrated by some of those greedy and envious neighbors, as it was being stated already by Joseph Perubi in 1976, the ombudsman, when he said to me, you know, people are being envious. I said, what are they envious about? You know, they could have done the same thing as I did. There's plenty of land around, you know, but too many people, were waiting in the background, let somebody else do the work, and then they thought they can run the people out who have put the hard work in, and put themselves and their family click in. And this is my whole problem, and that is a problem that has forced most of the farmers here off the land. And the government, all lights are flashing, all bells are ringing, but there's nobody there to do the job. Because when they do the job, then they have to take some heat. You know, when you want to be a cook, you know, and you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. And those deadbeats that are collecting a paycheck in the government, and they don't do the job, they should be sitting with their ass out in the street, instead of putting the working people of the province deeper and deeper in debt, while those deadbeats then take early retirement at a big fat pension, courtesy of the working people of the province. And Finance Minister Blaine Hicks, you sounded good at the hearing at the Lions Center in Moncton off Collisher Street. there a few weeks ago. But there was all talk and no action. Shame on you. This cow, I expected her to be number 7 cow that would have got killed. But she pulled through. She sent right down to a rack of bones, but now she is picking up again. But this damage, it accumulates in those animals. And after that happens several times, they normally would have been good beefy cows. They look like the skinnier than a Holstein dairy cow. Hi there. Hi puppy. Hi little one. It's okay. Oh, just turn them. Turn them. Hi puppy. Well, when you see here this, the top of this knoll, that there in the early 80s, up to the mid 80s, I was mown it as a hay field, and this part of the field was limed. It had, now in the meantime, it had at least 300 ton, over 300 ton per acre in successive applications of manure. But in the mid 80s, in 1985, within a few weeks, the grass and the clover that was here was grown up to 3 feet tall. Suddenly everything turned white. And ever since, this part of the hill hasn't grown anymore. But when in 1986 I brought it to the attention of Doug Tyler, the Minister of Agriculture, he ordered the RPC lab to do some extensive chemical testing of the soil, and it was found out that suddenly this part of the field had about 10 times the chloride levels that were in the rest of the field. And there is a long-term soil sterilant. It's called sodium chlorate. It can sterilize a piece of ground so nothing will grow there anymore for the next few decades. And when I got the test results back from the RPC lab, and I contacted Doug Tyler, he sent me afterwards a letter, and he said, yeah, I checked with the experts in my department, and there are no excessive high, those 130 parts were no excessive high levels, even though they were 10 times of the normal level. And the odd thing was, for the next year, he stayed on still as a Minister of Agriculture, but I never could reach him again. As I say, the environmental crime and the environmental watergates that have been covered up by the New Brunswick Department of Agriculture and the New Brunswick Department of the Environment, especially by the so-called experts and senior bureaucrats, it's outright scandalous. It's basically an environmental watergate, and it did not just only bankrupted a lot of farmers. I've been hanging on for dear life, and only that I only had to look out for myself, you know, that I didn't have a family to feed and a family to support. That is one of the reasons that I'm still out and about, that I'm still a farmer here, that I didn't lose a farm. But shame on those public officials that have been covering up those crimes and then still want to be elected again and portray the image like they are honest people. I haven't seen any honest people in the government. The honest people that were in the government, and every so often somebody shows some sense of honesty. If they don't buckle down to the criminals, then pretty soon they're out of the picture. They either become disabled, they get cancer, or they die suddenly of a heart attack. And where are Canada's finest, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police? They are a joke of a police force. They have covered up, since their founding, they've covered up so many crimes, genocide, everything else, you name it, they've covered it up. See, this is rich soil, it's deep soil, got plenty of organic matter on, but in order to fit the picture, what they want to project, that it is poor, outrunning soil, they introduce all kinds of weeds that are typically for poor soil. And one of them is this cornsperry. That normally grows only on poor, light, sandy soil, low in nutrients. But you can't actually say that this is soil poor in nutrients, with over 300 tons per acre of manure, plus lime and everything. But this is the whole strategy what they have been working at now for so many years. Werner puts into the bank account, basically he keeps feeding the soil, puts manure on, puts lime on and everything. And as long as Werner is on the farm, this land is not supposed to grow. But as soon as they get me off the land and one of those criminals takes over that haven't got a clue about agriculture, then suddenly the soil grows again. She comes from the best background. Her grandmother produced the fastest growing calf. At the age of 11 months it weighed 940 pounds. So the best genetic background. But they have burned her tits year after year and scarred them up so bad. When she calved, she had plenty of milk, but the tits are so scarred up that the milk doesn't go through anymore. So I have to ship her. And they have gassed her so many times, and one of the signs is, you know, when you see a good beef cows, then they get this big belly, you know. They got so much damage to the inside lining of the rumen, you know. They don't digest the feed anymore properly. Don't die. Well, you know, Ken, you have to be always on guard with them. Mm-hmm. New Brunswickers, Canadians, who think it is of no importance in a few years from now, when what this has been recorded, when the shit hits the fan and you're starving, you wish you would have paid attention. The agony those poor animals went through before they died. I don't want to be vindictive, but those that have done that to those animals, they deserve to die in the very same agony. And the rest of you who think it is funny and who have been slandering me when I desperately try to keep the animals alive, and your veterinarians and your politicians, you no good for nothing bastards who have knowledge about it and you didn't do anything about it. Politicians, provincially and federally. But you have to send the militaries around the world and bomb the hell right out of people who are trying to make a living out in the countryside and teach those Muslims the errors of their way. Shame on you. Shame on you. The corruption I've seen here in the government, it is unbelievable. That's what I not expected when I decided to immigrate here to Canada. Shame on your federal and provincial politicians who have had knowledge about this for the last 38 years, and you have